Hey, what's going on, guys? Appreciate y'all for having me back on. For those of y'all that don't know me, my name's Elvis. And to everybody else, salute and all praise be to the Most High. I'm blessed to be here with all of you, sharing in the space. And shout out to you, Katrina, for honoring me with the opportunity to be able to, I guess, give my 2 cents about this topic that you have for us. Now, I got asked, what exactly did it take to find my voice before I did things like my podcast and video commentary and just any one of these projects that I'm a part of? Honestly, going through a lot of different situations that all in all, now looking in hindsight, makes sense. But at the time, each individual piece it ultimately had to be worked through in order for it to be sensible enough to fit into my journey's mold. I don't know if that makes any sense for anybody off the rip. I hope it does. Finding my voice wasn't like a, hey, how you doing type of a meetup, It wasn't anything that I just fell into. And it most definitely wasn't something that I was just naturally gifted at that I knew of at the time. Unlearning one thing to learn a completely new one at that even is already difficult as it is. To do it and give a good reason towards that to better yourself as a person, now that's a challenge. Understanding how I process things, why I allowed certain things to be okay to happen to me, why I made excuses for people or for situations that I knew I deserved better than, but deep down didn't have the strength to do something about. Learning and understanding why I was these ways and where that initially came from was the start for me to be able to start, I guess you could say, taking that and doing the opposite, or seeing what the opposite reaction looks like. And if it made sense, attempting and practicing and seeing how that goes. Understanding myself enough to know that I wasn't going to get an immediate solution to everything that I wanted right then and there. That was really hard to come to terms with. More often than not, especially when it feels like everything, when it comes down on me, or when I fail at something or I miss some sort of a deadline, it feels like everything kind of moves faster than what you would hope or you would wish. So I had that aggravation about time early on, but through that practice, I allowed myself the patience I needed to really be able to back up and really make sense of everything that was happening, as opposed to acting frantic towards things that I knew weren't in my control, but didn't really give me a justifiable enough reason to act as senseless as these situations as well. Because then when we're both doing that, nobody wins. Hell, it ain't even that nobody wins. You don't even get to take the chance to fix your situation or circumstance. You don't even take the time after that fact, because you're so quick to jump that trigger, to think logically about it, where you can create the space or the energy needed to make it a different outcome. But you got to be able to think like that for yourself. You got to want to think like that. And in order to think like that, you got to believe you yourself are someone who can possibly produce something like that. Time has to stop seeming like it's either moving too fast or too slow at all the wrong times. People have to stop wanting things way too fast, especially when it comes down to, self-improvement and figuring out the secrets to who you are. And most importantly, figuring out what you're good at. That's not going to be from one day to the next. You got to think. You're 20-something years old. It took 20-something years to make it to that point. Now, that's not just saying that you are who you are no matter what. How you apply that info for it to feel like a level up depends on how you value yourself, what you've been through, and how much value you think you can get out of everything your life has already provided up to this point. finding my voice more often than not, I'm not gonna lie to you, it came as a challenge from people in my life previously who would take me for granted, or would slip up in the lips and say things that just were awfully hurtful, or negative, or just things that are meant to jab at a person and put them down. Listening to all of those things and feeling through those moments in my head, and when you apply this type of logic to yourself, not as a defense mechanism against everything so you don't have to listen to logic at all, because that's not what we want, but to make sense of situations when you know you need to, or when it's an actual danger to be in. For example, abusive relationships, or hectic work environments, or unhealthy food options, or drug options, or liquor options, or any number of things that you can call life. To understand from the basis of where things start, for me, I had to challenge all of the commentary, questions, and criticisms that every person in my life up to now has had, I guess I would say, the privilege to really be able to share with me, or dish at me. Because it is a privilege to be with you as an individual, and it's a privilege for you to be with someone else. And people honestly take that for granted, which is another note that you can add to this journey for yourself. How you value your relationship, or yourself within a relationship, will be a key to helping you set boundaries or expectations of your spouse or relationship, or courtship, for success. If you're carrying yourself and respecting yourself X, Y, and Z, that's when you can expect X, Y, and Z from others around you, because that's what you're putting out. It comes from a place of losing so much, to the point that I just wanted to die at some points. Feeling and going through so much heartbreak and abuse. Surviving. And seeing the good people in my life that I do have, and never wanting them to go through something like that for themselves, if they haven't already. And so, anytime any human being ever honored me with spending their time with me, moving forward, however long ago that pact was for me, I never want the experience to be regretful. I always want anyone and everyone who comes across me, or we cross paths, to leave with something positive, or leave with something beneficial, something they could remember. It doesn't necessarily need to be me to be remembered, but something productive, something positive they can take and push forward as well, and creating that long-term effect of change. That's ultimately what drives everything I do, why, and how it started. I found my voice when I found myself, and I found myself when I began to look for him. Not criticize him, not hate him, not demean him, not belittle him when he makes mistakes, not get angry or be ashamed or embarrassed. Just graceful, forgiving, and accepting. And through that peace, allowing the next step to be progress, allowing the next step to be a step forward, and not the fear to keep me either in place or further back. I appreciate y'all's time, man.